Hi, my name is Vicki Ellis and I am the Executive Director for Heritage Ranch Christian Children's Home. And today I'm going to be talking about the permissive approach to parenting. I am doing a video series right now on parenting styles, and if you haven't checked them out, I hope you'll go and check out the other videos that I've done on this topic. So today I want to delve right into talking about permissive parenting. Our styles for our parenting are typically pretty consistent in our interactions with our kids. So as I talk about permissive parenting today, what you're going to find is that if you typically use permissive parenting, it's probably going to sound really familiar to you. Sometimes we do shift outside of our primary style if we're stressed or we're feeling particularly happy and in a really chill mood, but typically we use the same style regularly. So today, again, I'm going to be talking about the permissive approach and how it's used in one's parenting. My goal is going to be to help you in identifying if this is your primary style and to highlight some of its drawbacks. This is going to be a good starting place for you to work from, with my recommendation being that you work to shift to a democratic approach, which is considered the most protective parenting style you can use. So I'll be talking about the democratic approach in one of my upcoming videos, so be sure you check that out. So the permissive approach. Typically, when you think about being a permissive parent, what it means is that you are very respectful, but not very firm typically. So permissive parents shift gears a lot and typically use a lot of different verbal tactics to convince and persuade their children to cooperate. If you tend towards permissive parenting, typically your underlying belief is that children will cooperate when they understand that cooperation is the right thing to do. And so with that in the back of your mind as a parent that uses a permissive style, what happens is that you tend towards using a lot of repeating, reminding, warning, second chances, reasoning, explaining, cajoling, arguing, bargaining, negotiating, compromising. And it just goes on and on. You're using a lot of different forms of persuasion to try to get your child to do what you want. Typically, consequences, if used at all, are typically late, and often they're ineffective, because when you use a permissive parenting style, it's generally a lot of words and not as much of the follow through. So when you have a strong-willed child that encounters a permissive parenting style that lacks firmness or clarity, I can tell you they are going to test to see what the quote market will bear. They will often tune out, ignore, challenge, debate, procrastinate, or quite frankly just dig in their heels and decide that they're not going to do what you say and see if they can wear you down. So kids know, if they have a permissive parent from experience, that if they resist long enough, there's a pretty good chance that their parents are going to compromise or give in altogether. And so this is typically what kids expect with permissive parenting. So one of the things about using a permissive method is that it doesn't have a lot of instructive value, because your kids aren't going to be able to make cause and effect connections between what you're saying and what you're doing. And it's really important as a parent that you want your kids to be able to do that. They need to not just hear your words, but to see your actions. And when they don't experience the action that supports your word and gives them meaning, they typically are not going to be very responsive. So if you're using permissive parenting to your kids, the message might sound something like this: it would be nice if you cooperated, but you really don't have to. Most of the time, kids will talk their way out of consequences, and parents will let things pass with a warning. And so the reality is that kids will respond to and respect signals, and signals that matter, and ones that have a direct and meaningful effect on them. So if you tend towards the permissive and there aren't consequences to hold your kids accountable that are consistent, then kids have very little reason to take seriously the outcome that you might be saying you're going to use. So permissive parents are often unaware that the signals they're using don't require stopping. And when I'm in this mode and I'm using permissive parenting, the reality is I'm saying it over and over again. How can you not be hearing me? I mean, I'm reminding you, I'm warning you, and I feel like those kind of persuasive things I'm saying are equivalent to what you would call, a red light. Like, you should know to stop. But the reality is when you're repeating yourself over and over and there isn't a clear consequence, what the kids are getting is an orange light, or often they see a green light. So permissive parents believe that the temporary frustration that accompanies consequences might damage their children emotionally. They worry that if they are too strict, then their kids might feel unloved or not cared for. However, the reality is if we as parents prevent our kids from experiencing the consequences of their poor choices and their behavior, then we are preventing them from important learning, because our kids do need to understand that every choice that they make does in fact have a consequence. So if you are a parent that tends towards the permissive style of parenting, I really want to challenge you to understand that what your kids need is to be able to trust that what you say is what you mean. And that if you say that if they do something, there's going to be consequences, that they can count on those consequences being acted out. I tell parents all the time that what your kids need to understand is if you say you're going to take them to the water park, or you say you're going to plan something, that they can count on that. And if you say that they're grounded and they're going to be in trouble, they need to be able to count on that as well. Having a permissive parenting style does not build the trust that you want, because your kids, even though they might be happy temporarily that they pushed you to get away with what they wanted, the reality is what kids really need is to know that no matter how much they push, you as the parent are going to be the one that is going to stay steady, in control, and respond appropriately regardless of their emotional responses. So I just want to encourage you, if anything I shared today really reminded you of your parenting, again, don't be down on yourself. Just recognize it, be aware of it, and start to think about ways that you can shift that permissive parenting approach towards the democratic approach. In one of my upcoming videos in this series on parenting styles, I'm going to be talking about the democratic approach. Hope you take the time to watch that and really make it a goal to shift from permissive parenting to the democratic approach, so that you will not be as stressed in just continuing to try to convince your kids on what to do, and your kids will increase in their response to what you say because they know it's going to be consistent. So thank you so much for watching this video. My name is Vicki Ellis. I am the Executive Director of Heritage Ranch Christian Children's Home, and I appreciate you tuning in.